Mysterious Stranger by Matthew Hardwick. I'll be here talking today about the shadow people. My abstract of this research paper is to find out who the shadow people are, where they came from or originated. I attempted to find credible sources for my research. I also wanted to see if there is any documented findings, pictures, research, or videos about the shadow people. My introduction. The shadow people have shape of humans, but in a shadow form. Most of the time, people only witness shadow people by seeing them in the corner of their eyes. It is in some rare cases they have been seen directly in front. These entities are not to be confused with the jinn. We will get more into depth about the jinn later on in this research discussion. The shadow people also have no physical power. This also we will go into further discussion about later. I chose the shadow people because they have always interested me. When I was younger, I thought I always saw things moving in the corner of my eyes. And at times at night, I would fear going to sleep and had to sleep with the nightlight on. My literature review for this research paper. My main source was a book that I got on Amazon and read through Amazon Kindle called The Shadow People. It had a lot of information in it about the shadow people, who they are, where they think they were from. There was info about religion, not just from Christianity, but from multiple religions. There's also information on how to protect yourself against them, how to get rid of them. My second source was from a movie called Shadow People. This movie was about a DJ that took a call from somebody on live air that started seeing shadow people. Eventually, the DJ himself started seeing them and couldn't go to sleep and had to do research about these shadow people. Eventually found out that there was a sleep study at a local college around him, and that shadow people had killed 4 people in this research study, where the doctor had tried to connect people using cords grounded to a door, and before they were going to sleep they all thought about opening the door. The door did open, and eventually a shadow person killed all 4 of them at once in front of him. The DJ wanted to make sure that everyone knew about the shadow people, and eventually he was talked into not showing the video, and on live TV called himself a kook so that his family and everybody else would not be taken by these shadow people as well. And eventually his son found this video, and a friend wanted to see it, and it got uploaded to YouTube. Nothing else was said after that, so we'll leave it to our imagination. My third source was from a lengthy YouTube video called Jinn and Shadow Beings. I watched this whole thing. It was about almost 2 hours long. It was worth a watch. It did get pretty in-depth, not only about shadow people, but about the jinn as well, and more conspiracy theories. I had more sources, but I decided not to drag this presentation along and use these 3 as a generalization, and I feel like them generalized together was a great source. Results. After putting together all of my info, I was able to determine what the true shadow people are. They're not to be confused with Jinn. Jinn have totally different characteristics than shadow people. As seen in these slides, the top one is a shadow person, where you can partially see through him, almost translucent. And on the bottom is a Jinn. A Jinn will have a shadowy smoke or flames surrounding it. The shadow people have been seen all around the world, and are not biased to religion or agnostic people. They'll show themselves to anyone. It really only seems as if they pass around our world, observing people, and do not cause any real destruction, but fear. There is only one true type of shadow person. They are transparent. The others are called Jinn, or Djinn, or genies. Basically, they're mystical beings. They will be hooded, or have hats, or red glowing eyes, that being the Jinn. The shadow people are only shadows, almost as if they're a ghost walking amongst us. The Jinn were from Arabian and Islamic mythology. Some consider the Jinn as demons or poltergeists, and in extreme cases, aliens. The shadow people are said to be stuck in between our dimension, being the third, and the fourth dimension. It is said that when we die in the third dimension, our planet, our souls pass on into a fourth dimension or onto a higher being. Because of this, that they're stuck in between the third and the fourth dimension, they have no true physical form in either. And because of that, cannot make physical contact with people. The Shadow People movie said that they would cause sleep paralysis and take your life. So they would sit there and show themselves to people, and the people couldn't move but see them. They would mess with them at first to scare them, to gain more power over the person, tickle their feet, move things around, and then eventually, once they were powerful enough from the fear that they gave you, they would kill you. This isn't a trait of the Shadow People. This is definitely more of a trait from the Jinn, or a demonic source. To conclude my research presentation, the Shadow People and Jinn are two totally different entities, and should not be confused with one another at all. The Shadow People seem to only observe or wander through our world, traveling amongst our shadows. Because even in the daytime we have shadows cast from objects, they even travel during that time. Later I'll show you a video of a shadow person moving along in a building and then out into true daylight. If somebody was to see a real shadow person, there honestly is nothing to fear. But if you were to see a Jinn, you really better hope not, that they're hellbound on taking your life or soul. The Shadow People are considered monsters because they have been mistaken for Jinn. This is because the Jinn take a form that closely resembles a shadow person. The real monster is a demon that poses as these shadow beings. The Jinn have also known to take in other forms, like in some of the previous slides I've shown you, where they have had hoods, cloaks, hats, with red glowing eyes. You would not see a shadow person with red glowing eyes. They would be transparent. Part of my audience participation questions I'd like to ask, if everybody's paying attention, where do they come from? A, hell. B, our worst nightmares. Or C, no one knows, because they've been around since the dawn of time, and there is no recorded time when they have been started. What do shadow people look like? Iron Man. B, Jesus. C, translucent, shadowy figures. Where are the shadow people stuck? A, at work. B, in line at the DMV, or God forbid, the MJC bookstore lines. C, between the fourth and third dimensions. Final question, what do the jinn look like? A mix with some juice for a great night. B, Aladdin. Or C, shadow figures with smoke or flames coming off of them. Here's the YouTube video that I have linked. If it works for you and you can click on it to start it, awesome. If not, I have included the YouTube link at the bottom so that you may enjoy your viewing of shadow people. And if you observe the bottom left-hand side, you can see the shadow emerging and transferring over to the chairs. Person thinks they saw something, wanders back off. Shadow continues to pass through the wall and travel. As you see the person on the right just look to the left, thinking that he saw something out of the corner of his eye. I hope you enjoyed this, and everybody, good night.